Welcome to Cooking from the Cave. I'm Chef Pete Truziak, and today I'm going to be demonstrating some variations of the classic chicken cordon bleu. It's also a good way to relieve some stress after work, so I'm going to start with pounding the chicken. So let's roll our sleeves up and get this workout going. Whenever you're going to scallop anything or pound anything really thin, get a big piece of plastic wrap, lay that down on your cutting board. Obviously make sure everything's secure, the cutting board. Fold over that plastic wrap. What that does is it helps ensure that, one, your food stays in one area and you're not spreading chicken all over the place, because you're going to get a good workout doing this. Now when pounding, the first thing you want to do is make sure, in this case, because we do have the plastic wrap on there and we're using a fairly tender protein chicken, you don't need to use the medieval torture sides of the mallet. Just use the flat side. They come in all different sizes, but there's usually the ones with the teeth and also the smooth side. Teeth is for the very tough cuts of meat that you really got to work through and tenderize. But for the tender pieces, just use the flat blade of the mallet. And also when pounding, you want to start in the middle and you want to pull it towards you. So we're going to hit down and drag it towards us, and we will rotate our food. We won't rotate how we're hitting. We're just going to rotate our food every time we hit it, and we pull it across. Now, as this happens, your food's going to get wider and wider. So let me start with that, and in probably about 3 or 4 minutes, I'll have this guy pounded out thin, and we'll move on from that application. I'm also moving anything off the counter that might fall off the counter, because I'm going to be beating this up pretty good. So down in the middle, and then drag it towards you. So you're going to pull it towards you like so. And just rotate that food around as you're pounding it, so that you're going to pull it out. Again, repeat this until you get it nice and thin. Alright, we have our chicken pounded nice and thin, and traditionally chicken cordon bleu is a rolled chicken breast that's been stuffed with ham and cheese. We're going to do ours with pancetta as well as blue cheese, and then we're going to do another variation of prosciutto and smoked provolone. I'm just throwing a couple ideas at you. You could obviously mix this up however you see fit. Maybe do the pancetta and then do a sun-dried tomatoes and cheese or something there, but really have a lot of fun with it. Follow these steps, pounding it, breading it, pan-searing it, and throwing it in the oven, but have fun with what you put in it. Now, why do we pound the chicken thin? One, because chicken breasts start off with a very thick side and they tail down to a tip. We want to make sure we have a thin sheet of wrap, in this case it's chicken, that we can start on one end and roll it up. If you have variations in your thickness, well, you're going to have a big bulge over here with the roll when all done, or maybe it's over here. So get it flat, roll it, pound it thin like paper, and then it'll be easier to roll up. The next thing we're going to do is I'm going to get both of these guys on here, so I can do these at the same time. And you want to make sure that you pound it. If you get little holes in it, that's okay. You're just going to cover it up. But you want to make sure you pound them the same thickness, because again, they're going to get pan-seared and roasted in the oven at the same time. We're going to hit this with salt. Put some cracked pepper in here. And now we can start to do our fillings. In a lot of our shows that we do, we're using pepper, and sometimes I'm using cracked pepper as well as sometimes I have pre-ground pepper. Just know that prior to the episode, I've already ground my pepper. Whenever you possibly can, use your spices in their original form. If you got to grind it, you got to use a nutmeg to zest out the nutmeg. Whatever it is, just try and use those spices as fresh as possible. It has a lot more flavor. We've seasoned the inside of our chicken. I'm going to do one with pancetta as well as blue cheese. And what I did was I layered out 6 pieces of pancetta. And if you watch, what I'm going to do is I'm going to roll this up separate from the chicken. What this will do is it will create a nice little pocket of whatever filling you have versus having a spiral or a pinwheel effect. You can do the pinwheel effect, but the only difference is you would take this and you would roll everything up together. For cordon bleu, traditionally, it's done. So you have your pocket, chicken gets wrapped around it, and you're good to go. I'm going to tuck in my edges so that I don't have any ham, or pancetta in this case, hanging over. I'm going to do the same thing with my smoked provolone and prosciutto. And I want to show you, this is actually a pretty big, thick block of provolone, smoked provolone. I have 3 pieces of prosciutto here. Now our next step will be to roll the chicken around the pancetta and blue cheese, and I'm going to bring in the edges of the chicken so I can get a nice coat of chicken on or around whatever it is I'm rolling. I'm going to keep kind of folding that chicken edges in. And it might stick to the plastic wrap, depends on how long the chicken has been on the plastic wrap. Don't worry, you're not doing anything wrong. And once you have this stage, I'll drop him down so you can take a look at it. But you have a nice roll or a nice package of chicken. I'm going to do the same thing over here with the prosciutto and smoked provolone. Again, if you work a little faster than I did, the chicken will not stick to your plastic wrap. But if it does, again, don't worry. Roll him up. We're going to tuck in the edges. And there you go. Moving on. We're now going to do the 3 stages of breading. And before I start that, I'm going to go ahead and get my pan heated up. And I'm just going to have my pan with just a little bit of oil, so this is going to be called pan searing. I'm going to bring my temperature up to medium heat here before I do anything or add any liquid to it. And we can take our salt and pepper and put a little bit in here as well, so that this breading that's going to go around the outside will have some seasoning. Let me just wash my hands really quick and I'll show you that step. We're going to use a generous teaspoon of salt. Roughly about the same on that pepper. We're going to drop our chicken, stir that up, drop our chicken into the flour, coat all the sides as evenly as you possibly can. Turn it if necessary. We're going to go dry to wet, and this is an egg and water, typically known as an egg wash. You could use egg and milk, and we're going to use this to coat the chicken. We want to make sure we coat this well with our breadcrumbs, and our breadcrumbs, to show you, are herb-coated, herb-tossed breadcrumbs. So I've dried out some bread, turned them into crumbs, added some fresh parsley in there, and that's where our chicken will be right now. I'm going to wash my hands one more time. I'm going to actually do the next chicken. I'm going to wash my hands, and I'm going to show you how to pan sear and get it in the oven. Just finished rolling the chicken. I got 2 beautiful pieces right there. I've added oil to my hot pan, and remember, just swirl that oil around the bottom of that pan. Make sure that you have roughly about 1/4 inch of oil in here for pan searing, and just make sure that once you swirl it, return it back to the heat. Let it heat back up in case you lose any heat there. We're going to just season this one more time with salt. Just a pinch of salt, really. We're going to put our chicken seam side down. Now you can tell where your seam side is because it's not going to be as smooth or as rounded as the other sides. You see, mine has sort of a variation. If you need to mark it for some reason, but you usually can typically tell where your seam is. Again, mine has a little variation through here. This is where my seam is. I'm going to pan sear that side first. And what that does is it'll take that seam, bring it together, sear it, hold it together, and then we can just let it cook a little bit on this side. We'll roll them, cook them a little bit on that side, and continue that until they're all the way evenly brown around the outside. Then I can take that pan and finish it off in the oven. It should take roughly about 2 to 3 minutes per side, maybe 10 minutes altogether in this pan. Our beautiful chicken cordon bleu, nice and golden brown on all 4 sides. We can now take these, put them in an oven. I have it set at 400 degrees. Got to move the dog's head out of the way before I open the oven. You can just take your pan, if it's an all stainless steel pan, good quality pan, put it right in the oven, like so. Just remember, when we do take it out, we gotta make sure we have some towels or something to hold on to it. While that's cooking in the oven, we're gonna give it about 10 minutes in there. I can start to make a real quick zucchini carpaccio style salad for you. All right, this salad is so simple. You'll love it. It goes with almost anything. I'm gonna take zucchini, a little bit of olive oil, and some grape tomatoes. I have the grape tomatoes, probably about 2 ounces of, this is roughly maybe a half cup of grape tomatoes, 2 ounces of olive oil. Drop those in there. Use good, either sea salt or kosher salt for this. Some cracked pepper. And then for our zucchini, I'm going to cut it on a bias. So a bias is, instead of cutting it straight down, we're going to cut it on an angle, like that. And I'm going to use a Japanese mandolin. Now, Japanese mandolins typically do not have a stand, so you want to somehow support it. And whenever you're using a mandolin, this blade is extremely sharp. If you don't know what you're doing, watch and just kind of be very careful with this. But we're just going to push the food across the blade. I think the mandolins are a necessity in everybody's home kitchen. You just want to be careful and get a hang of it before you start going real fast. So take your time, push towards the blade but away from you. I see a lot of people going like this, which is just an accident waiting to happen. So again, go slow, push away from you, and what we're going to try and do is get as thin of pieces of zucchini that we can. Put those in with our tomatoes. Get us a pair of tongs. Toss this up. And this salad can easily be done in just a few matter of moments. And we just want the zucchini to really soak in that olive oil. Soften it up, pick up the salt and pepper. Use a good quality olive oil too. And then just set it aside until your chicken is actually done. And we'll lay this as a bed on our plate. A slice of our chicken will be ready to eat. Our buzzard went off, so it's been in there for about 10 minutes. I'm going to pull this out, and the key is that if you cut into them too early, what happens? Well, the cheese is going to go everywhere. So we got to let them rest. So I'm going to pull the guys off, or I should say I'm going to pull them out of the pan. And we'll just let them rest here for roughly about 5 minutes. You can put aluminum foil over them if you think it's going to be longer than 5 minutes, but in 5 minutes it's not going to lose any temperature. What happens is everything kind of solidifies, the natural juices inside the food disperses back into the meat, keeps it nice and moist. You have this nice crust or shell because of those breadcrumbs on the outside. We'll slice it, we'll get it on top of our salad here, and we'll be ready to have dinner. Alright, let's slice this up and dig in. I'm going to start by putting a little bit of the salad down on the plate. And I'll divide them with the salad. Actually, I should say I'll put the blue cheese on one side and the smoked provolone on the other. Now you can plate this up a couple different ways. You can slice the chicken all the way through, so you have a whole bunch of slices for your guests. You can do it just at one variable, so then you get 2 pieces. And I think what we'll do something like that. I lost a little bit of the blue cheese in there, but that's expected because of how soft the blue cheese is. Over here you have the smoked provolone, holding strong, wrapped in the prosciutto, and then the pancetta with the blue cheese. Again, a couple different styles of the classic chicken cordon bleu. I can't say anything more except I'm going to go get some white wine and probably dig in. So thank you for watching me. I'm Chef Pete Truziak from Cooking from the Cave, and I'll see you real soon.